I am Hannah Summers, and my degree program is Vocal Pedagogy. For my second article critique, I chose an article entitled Gesture as a Communicative Tool in Vocal Pedagogy. For my capstone, I will be evaluating the different elements of voice and how they can be applied and identified within different pieces of music that will be taught within a lesson. This particular article deals with a very important element of vocal pedagogy and will tie in nicely with my topic. Within this article, the authors discuss that the teaching of voice is heavily impacted by gesture as a form of communication and expression. The author states that vocal instruction utilizes gestures to express images that cannot be expressed in speech. Within this context, speech and gesture must cooperate to express the person's meaning. Gestures help to translate physically what is being cognitively processed. For instance, in a lesson, if I want to help a student to not vocally strain and they're reaching for a pitch, in order to have them think down, I would have them gesture pointing down or bending their knees, and this causes their brain to think opposite. So the teacher is often required to relay to the student complex internal physiological processes that involve intricate muscular coordination. Verbal communication is not always adequate enough in explaining these processes, so that is where gestures come into play. This study was based upon previous study conducted by David McNeil that focused primarily on gestural communication involving the hand and its communicative movements as gestural idioms that represented thought in action. For the purpose of this study, the authors defined gesture as movements of the hands and arms as people talk. Within this study, there were two primary categories. One was musical, and the other one was technical. Two subcategories within the technical category were physiological and sensation-related gestures. Singers use gestures to make kinesthetic imagery into somewhat of a picture for the process of developing musical memory. The direction of gesture seems to also have an effect on the tone quality of the singer. This theory was elaborated through the study of 80 kindergartners. The children tended to sing with more accuracy when pitch was paired with an accompanying gesture. Gestures, as illustrated previously, are vital to vocal instruction, but also play an important role in performance as well. The vocal instrument, as part of the body, is viewed as the mediator in musical communication and the action-reaction cycle. The aforementioned studies were incorporated in the study to presented in the article to develop an informed initial coding structure. Gestures allow for the information of common codes in simulation mechanisms in the course of a lesson. Gesture serves to extend the instrument of the singer so as to communicate expressive musical intentions or technical concepts to other musicians. For this study, data was collected from 3 classical voice teachers at the Ghent Conservatory. All the teachers had more than 10 years teaching experience. 6 students participated. Each had 3 lessons, all of which were with each of the 3 voice teachers. The lessons were video recorded, and each student was given a questionnaire beforehand to kind of record what their previous reflection on gesture and in instruction were. So the results of the study show that gesture was perceived not only to explain, but also to evaluate, and allowed for continuous nonverbal feedback. Because sensory information could be more easily communicated, the student's comprehension was enhanced. Gesture and bodily movement serve a very important role in vocal pedagogy. Gesture serves multiple functions in a voice lesson. let's say that when I'm singing, a lot of times for my vibrato to not get out of control, I think of focusing the sound and pinpointing. So as I am singing, a movement from finger extended out will really help me to focus the sound in. It triggers my brain to think a more focused pitch. Also, another example of this was last semester. I was in the opera Marriage of Figaro, and I played the Countess. And so this example kind of also extends into not only a rehearsal or a lesson, but also in a performance. So for my brain to trigger singing a higher pitch, I was having to sing a high A. In my performance, I would bend my knees and extend a hand out, relaying an emotional connection to the audience, portraying the character, but also helping me, unbeknownst to the singers, or the audience, that I was trying to hit the pitch. So that's another example of how gesture helps the singer, but also communicates to the audience in performance, but also triggers thought, so that things that we can't do or communicate verbally, we can non-verbally communicate through a gesture. This study can be used by a voice teacher to evaluate how he or she is incorporating gesture and bodily movement within his or her lesson. This study provides some very helpful information and can be applied by the instructor. This study, to me, was very thoroughly addressed, and because multiple subjects were studied and more than one teacher was used, I think that it gave it a broad spectrum of perspective, and you have different elements of lessons, and not just one subject. I do think that it could be elaborated even more, and studying different age groups, different levels of talent, or different levels of experience as well would definitely help this study to grow. However, I found it very helpful and something that could be very applicable for me as a future vocal instructor. It's something that a gesture, even as you see as I am speaking, I'm using gestures, but in music, in my lessons, I'm always gesturing, and I never even really processed it as something that was so vital to a lesson, but is a very intricate detail of all of my lessons in practice, and also now as an instructor. So this article was very helpful and very informative.